Without hesitation, Jack began to manipulate the symbols, his fingers flying across the display as if he were playing a complex musical instrument. The alien scientists watched in disbelief as Jack solved the puzzle piece by piece. In just 10 minutes, Jack had completed the puzzle in its entirety. The room fell silent, the only sound being the hum of the machines as they powered down. Zoran's face turned pale. He could hardly believe what he had just witnessed. The Federation's top scientists were stunned into silence, their jaws hanging open in astonishment. Jack had done the impossible. He had solved the puzzle that had stumped them for centuries. The entire summit room was in shock. Zoran, who had been so confident in the Federation's superiority, was now confronted with a harsh truth. Humans were far more intelligent and capable than he had ever imagined. His eyes narrowed as he struggled to maintain his composure, but the seed of doubt had been planted. But Zoran wasn't a leader to accept defeat easily. His pride and arrogance were too deeply rooted. Instead of acknowledging Jack's brilliance, he dismissed the result as an anomaly. "This is impossible," Zoran muttered to himself. "This must be a mistake." In the quiet of the room, the other alien scientists began to murmur, exchanging confused glances. They had never expected humans to be this clever, and now they had to come to terms with the reality that humanity might be far more advanced than they had ever given credit for. But Zoran was not about to let it go. He could not allow the Federation to be outsmarted by a lesser species. Determined to maintain his authority, he began to hatch a new plan. If Jack's success was due to human ingenuity, then it was time to test just how far this intelligence could stretch. As the summit continued, Zoran quietly began preparing a series of new, even more difficult experiments, ones designed to push the limits of human intellect to their breaking point. His resolve was clear. He would not rest until humanity was brought to its knees. Meanwhile, Jack, oblivious to the storm that was brewing, simply smiled to himself. He had proven his point, but he knew that this was only the beginning. What Zoran didn't realize was that the puzzle Jack had solved was just a small glimpse into the vast potential of humanity's mind. Humans were capable of so much more than the galaxy had ever seen, and Jack was just getting started. The next phase of the challenge was about to begin, and this time, humanity's greatest test was yet to come. After Jack's stunning victory at the summit, Zoran, the top scientist of the Galactic Federation, had no choice but to escalate the challenge. His pride was bruised, and the humiliation of being outsmarted by a human was something he couldn't easily swallow. So he devised a new test, one that would not just challenge human intellect, but also test their ability to handle the most advanced alien technology. Zoran's plan was simple. He would send Jack and his team to the heart of a dangerous alien facility, where they would be forced to navigate a series of deadly traps, combat advanced robots, and outwit cloaking devices designed to confuse even the most seasoned experts. Zoran was confident that humans would fail miserably. They were far too primitive, he thought. Their technology and understanding were nowhere near advanced enough to take on the Federation's finest systems. This time, failure was inevitable. But Jack was not easily intimidated. He had already proven himself to be more than capable of handling the impossible, and now, with his team by his side, he was ready to face the next challenge head-on. Jack had a sharp mind, and with his quick thinking and innovative approach, he believed he could turn the tables on Zoran's arrogant test. The odds were stacked against them, but Jack was determined to show that humans could overcome any obstacle. The testing grounds were located on a distant moon, surrounded by a harsh, inhospitable landscape. The moon was home to a Federation research base, one that had been abandoned long ago, but still housed the most dangerous and advanced technology the galaxy had ever seen. The entire base had been rigged with traps that were meant to kill or incapacitate anyone who dared to enter. Zoran had made sure that only the most dangerous, complex systems would be used, and he was certain that no one, not even humans, could survive it. As Jack and his team approached the base, they could see the facility's massive structure looming on the horizon. The landscape was desolate, barren, and devoid of life, with jagged rocks and deep craters scattered all around. The cold atmosphere gave everything an eerie, almost ghostly quality. But Jack wasn't fazed. He had seen worse in his time. He turned to his team and gave them a look of determination. "We're here to show them what humanity is capable of. Stay sharp and stay focused," he said. With that, they began to make their way toward the entrance of the facility. The doors slid open automatically as they approached, revealing the dark, empty hallway. It was the perfect setup for a deadly trap, and Jack knew it. He signaled to his team to stay alert as they entered the facility, their footsteps echoing in the vast, silent space. The first obstacle they encountered was a series of deadly robots, each one armed with laser blasters and designed to incapacitate any intruder. The robots' movements were swift, precise, and deadly. But Jack had a plan. As the robots advanced, he and his team took cover behind large metal crates. They knew they couldn't outgun the machines, but they didn't need to. Jack had studied the robots' movements closely, and he had already spotted a weakness in their programming. "Wait for my signal," Jack whispered. He turned to one of his teammates, a woman named Sarah, who was an expert in hacking alien tech. "Can you override their systems?" Sarah nodded. "Leave it to me." As the robots closed in, Sarah activated a device on her wrist that emitted a pulse of energy. The pulse disrupted the robot systems, causing them to freeze for a brief moment. It was all the time Jack needed. With swift precision, he activated a cloaking device from his own suit, rendering him invisible to the robots. He moved silently, avoiding their sensors, and disabled each robot one by one with quick, precise moves. The rest of the team followed Jack's lead, using their own knowledge of alien tech to outmaneuver the robots. It was a dangerous game, but they were playing it smarter, not harder. The team used their intelligence and understanding of the systems, taking advantage of the weaknesses in the robots' programming. With Jack leading the charge, the team was able to disable the robots without firing a single shot. As they moved deeper into the facility, the challenges grew even more difficult. Zoran had underestimated humanity's ability to adapt and think on their feet. Every obstacle they faced, Jack's team outsmarted with creativity and resourcefulness. The Federation's complex systems were no match for the team's ingenuity. But the true test was yet to come. As they reached the central control room of the base, Zoran activated the next phase of the challenge: orbital bombardment. The sky above the base darkened as massive Federation warships appeared in orbit, their weapons charged up, and the sound of their cannons charging filled the air. Zoran, watching from a distant command center, knew that the bombardment would destroy the entire base. He thought this would be the final blow to Jack and his team, ensuring that no human could survive such a catastrophic event. But Jack had anticipated this move. He knew the Federation would resort to brute force when their intelligence was challenged. As the bombardment began, Jack and his team rushed into a nearby hangar, where they found a fleet of advanced Federation ships that Zoran believed to be out of commission. They weren't. Jack quickly analyzed the ship's controls. They were outdated, but with a little tinkering, they could be made operational again. "We need to get airborne now," Jack commanded. His team scrambled to the ships, firing up the engines just as the first orbital bombs began to fall. The ground shook as explosions tore through the base, but Jack and his team were undeterred. They took off, their ships rocketing into the sky as the Federation ships above unleashed their fury. But the humans had a secret weapon: speed and unpredictability. As the Federation warships targeted them, Jack's team performed a series of evasive maneuvers, using the hangar's terrain and the facility's cloaking devices to stay hidden from the enemy sensors. The human ships zipped around the larger Federation vessels, dodging blasts and firing back with precision. It was an intense, heart-pounding moment as the humans fought back with everything they had. Zoran watched in disbelief as the humans not only survived the bombardment but managed to take down several of the Federation's most advanced ships. His plan was unraveling, and he couldn't understand how the humans were able to adapt so quickly. Every time he thought they were on the verge of defeat, they turned the tables. Zoran's frustration grew. He had expected the humans to fail. Instead, they had done the unthinkable. They had outsmarted him at every turn. But this was far from over. Zoran would not admit defeat so easily. He quickly signaled for reinforcements to arrive, determined to crush humanity once and for all. As Jack and his team fought off the Federation's attacks, they knew the true battle was just beginning. They had proven their intelligence, but now they would have to face Zoran's final, most dangerous move yet. The suspense was palpable. Would humanity's ingenuity be enough to survive the coming storm? Only time would tell. Zoran's obsession with defeating humanity grew stronger with every passing moment. His failure to defeat Jack and his team had struck a blow to his pride, one that he could not let go. For someone as highly regarded as Zoran, being outsmarted by a human, especially a relatively unknown one like Jack, was nothing short of a humiliation. No matter how many times he tried to convince himself that it was just a fluke, deep down, he knew he could not allow this defeat to stand. His mind swirled with thoughts of revenge, and his plan to reassert his superiority over humanity only grew darker. In his private quarters, Zoran paced back and forth, his thoughts consumed with rage and frustration. He had done everything to ensure that the humans would fail, yet they had defied his every expectation. Their ingenuity and sheer determination were beyond anything he could have imagined. It was clear to him now that he couldn't simply defeat them in a single test. No, he would need something far more extreme, a challenge that would push them to their limits and beyond. Zoran's mind then fixed on an idea, a test so dangerous, so deadly, that even the most brilliant human minds would be forced to give up. He would set a trap that no one could escape from, an eye-controlled death maze, an elaborate series of deadly corridors filled with advanced alien technology, traps, and robotic guardians. Each wrong step would mean instant death. He had designed it to be foolproof. No human could survive this maze. Jack and his team had no idea what they were walking into. After their success in the previous tests, Zoran knew they would be eager to prove themselves once again. The challenge was set, and Jack's team was prepared to face whatever came next. But this time, the stakes were much higher, and the risks were far more personal. Bonner, Jack's close friend and one of the bravest soldiers on the team, volunteered to take on the maze. He had always been ready to sacrifice himself for the greater good, and this time was no different. "I'll do it," Bonner said, his voice steady, though there was a trace of uncertainty in his eyes. Jack knew Bonner well enough to understand that his friend wasn't scared of the challenge, but the weight of what they were about to face was beginning to take its toll. As they entered the massive chamber that housed the eye-controlled death maze, the mood was tense. The air was thick with anticipation. The walls were lined with intricate alien technology, and the entire environment seemed to hum with a cold, mechanical energy. The maze stretched out before them like a dark labyrinth, and at the center, a glowing core, an energy source that powered the entire system, awaited. The AI controlling the maze was far more intelligent than anything Jack had ever encountered. It could anticipate every move, every possible route, and it would adapt to any attempt to outsmart it. But Jack was determined to make it through, and he knew that if anyone could do it, it was Bonner. The challenge began. As Bonner entered the maze, he was immediately faced with a barrage of deadly traps, laser grids, electrified floors, and walls that shifted and moved as if they had a mind of their own. Every step Bonner took was carefully calculated, but the maze seemed to change with every turn. It was as if the very walls were alive, designed specifically to trap him. The tension grew as Bonner navigated through the increasingly complex twists and turns. Jack and the rest of the team watched anxiously from a control room, their eyes fixed on the live feed showing Bonner's movements. Every few seconds, the screen would flash with a new challenge, and the team would hold their breath, hoping Bonner would make it through. But they could see the exhaustion in his movements. He was getting slower, and the maze was taking its toll on him. It wasn't long before Bonner encountered the first of many deadly eye-controlled robots. These robots were more than just machines. They were programmed to adapt to every situation, learning from their previous encounters and becoming more dangerous with each fight. Bonner had fought against alien robots before, but this time, they were relentless. The robots had laser weapons, cloaking abilities, and enhanced strength. They were a formidable opponent. Bonner fought with everything he had, using his experience to outmaneuver the robots and defeat them one by one. But as the minutes passed, the toll of the maze began to show. Sweat poured down his face as he fought to stay focused. His movements became slower, his reflexes duller. And then, just as he was about to reach the core of the maze, one of the robots caught him off guard. In a split second, Bonner was struck by a powerful laser blast, sending him tumbling to the ground. The room fell silent. Jack and the team watched in horror as Bonner's body lay motionless on the floor of the maze. The team's hearts sank. Bonner, the brave soldier who had always been there for them, was gone. Jack's mind raced, his thoughts spinning in a whirl of anger and grief. This wasn't supposed to happen. Bonner was supposed to make it out, but Zoran's test had claimed another life. Bonner, no, Jack shouted, his voice thick with emotion. The entire team stood in shock, unable to process what had just happened. They had known the risks, but the reality of losing one of their own hit harder than any of them had expected. As the maze doors opened and Bonner's lifeless body was removed, the team was left to deal with the aftermath. Zoran, of course, didn't show any remorse. He watched the scene with cold detachment, his obsession with proving his superiority blinding him to the very human emotions that were unfolding before him. Jack, however, wasn't about to let Bonner's sacrifice be in vain. He could feel the weight of his friend's loss, but it also fueled him with a new sense of determination. He had already seen how far they could push humanity's limits, and now he would push even harder. Zoran's obsession with defeating them had made him forget something important: humanity's resilience. They had lost Bonner, but they would not lose this fight. The team gathered around Jack, their faces grim, but their resolve unshaken. "We can't let Bonner's death be for nothing," Jack said quietly, his voice filled with a renewed sense of purpose. "We're going to finish this, no matter what." Zoran had made a critical mistake. He had underestimated the power of human emotion, the very thing that made humanity so strong. Jack's team was ready to take on whatever challenges Zoran threw their way. They would show him that humanity's intelligence, resilience, and unity were far stronger than any alien technology or twisted test he could devise. As the team left the maze, a new chapter in their journey began. Zoran's obsession had led him to create a deadly test, but it had also created a new fire in Jack and his team. They were ready for whatever came next, and as they prepared to face Zoran once again, they knew that no matter the cost, they would win. For Bonner, for humanity. Zoran stood in the control room of his massive flagship, his eyes fixed on the holographic display in front of him. The plan had been simple: test humanity, crush their pride, and reaffirm the superiority of the alien civilizations under his command. But everything had gone wrong. His maze had failed. Bonner's death had only fueled Jack's resolve, and his team had passed through every challenge Zoran threw at them. The humans were more than just resilient. They were unpredictable, resourceful, and dangerously smart. Zoran's mind raced. He had never encountered anything like this. For the first time in his career as a scientist and tactician, he felt something he rarely allowed himself to experience: doubt. Could they actually lose to humans? The thought was unthinkable. Yet everything pointed to one undeniable truth: humanity wasn't just surviving the tests, they were thriving. And now, Zoran knew that it was only a matter of time before they reached his base and confronted him directly. The Galactic Federation had underestimated humanity for too long, and Zoran had made the grave mistake of thinking They could simply crush them underfoot. But Jack and his team were proving him wrong at every turn. What had started as a test of intelligence had now become a battle for survival. Zoran could no longer afford to wait. If he didn't act quickly, humanity would prove that they were more than just a nuisance. They were a force to be reckoned with. Meanwhile, Jack and his team were preparing for the final phase of their mission. Despite the odds, despite the alien technology they faced, they were filled with an overwhelming sense of belief in themselves. Jack had seen the potential in his team, and after Bonner's sacrifice, they were more determined than ever to succeed. The loss had bound them together even more tightly. They weren't just fighting for victory anymore. They were fighting for their fallen comrade, for the survival of humanity, and for the future of Earth itself. The team gathered in the briefing room, their faces hard with resolve. "We're getting close," Jack said, his voice steady. "Zoran's plan is falling apart, but he'll fight to the end. We need to infiltrate his base, hack into their systems, and disable their weapons before they launch their final attack on Earth." The team nodded in unison. They knew what was at stake. They were up against the most advanced technology in the galaxy, but they had something Zoran and his allies didn't: human ingenuity. They would use every tool at their disposal to outsmart the alien forces, and they would do it together. With their mission clear, the team set off to infiltrate the alien base. They had gained access to the enemy's cloaking technology, which would allow them to slip past the alien defenses undetected. The base was heavily guarded, but the team was ready. They would move quickly, silently, and strike where the enemy least expected. As they approached the base's outer perimeter, they activated the cloaking devices. The world around them blurred as their bodies became invisible to the alien sensors. They moved like shadows through the dense alien terrain, knowing that any mistake could mean their death. Every step was calculated, and every member of the team knew their role. They had trained for this moment, and they wouldn't let anything stop them now. As they infiltrated deeper into the heart of the base, the tension in the air grew palpable. They had to move swiftly, for time was running out. Zoran's forces were already on high alert, and they knew the clock was ticking. Every second they spent inside the base brought them closer to the inevitable confrontation. Then the first sign of trouble appeared. The team encountered a group of alien soldiers, elite, AI-controlled warriors designed for close combat. They were armed with advanced energy weapons and armor, making them formidable opponents. But Jack's team wasn't about to back down. They had learned to adapt and outmaneuver their enemies, and they would do the same now. The first soldier lunged at them with incredible speed, its weapon crackling with energy. Jack reacted instantly, his reflexes sharp from years of training. He dodged the soldier's strike and countered with a powerful blow, knocking the soldier off balance. His team quickly followed suit, taking on the other soldiers with swift, coordinated movements. Despite the superior alien technology, Jack's team was proving that human strength, creativity, and teamwork could overcome even the most advanced adversaries. In the chaos of the battle, the team moved with deadly precision, taking down one enemy soldier after another. The air was filled with the crackle of energy weapons and the sound of metal clashing. It was a brutal fight, but Jack and his team were determined to succeed. They knew that every victory in this fight brought them one step closer to taking down Zoran and his forces. As they advanced through the base, they encountered more and more obstacles: laser grids, force fields, and AI-controlled traps designed to stop them in their tracks. But the team was relentless. They hacked into the alien systems, bypassed the security measures, and continued their relentless march forward. With each step, they grew more confident, their belief in themselves and each other strengthening with every victory. Meanwhile, Zoran was in the command center of his flagship, watching the battle unfold. His face was twisted with frustration. Everything he had built, everything he had planned for, was now crumbling before him. His once unshakable confidence in his superiority was being shattered by a group of humans who had defied every expectation. Zoran's eyes narrowed as he watched Jack and his team progress through the base. They were getting closer to the core of the installation, where the final weapons were stored, where the power to destroy Earth was held. He knew he had no more time to waste. If he didn't stop them now, his entire empire would be in danger. With a flick of his wrist, Zoran activated the final phase of his plan. The invasion of Earth. His flagship, a massive warship capable of obliterating entire cities, began to power up. Zoran's forces were ready to launch their final assault. He had no intention of letting these humans get any closer to stopping him. "Prepare the fleet," Zoran ordered coldly. "It's time to end this." The warship began to move, its engines roaring to life as it set course for Earth. Zoran's mind was set. He would crush humanity once and for all. But even as his flagship moved to launch the invasion, a small part of him wondered if perhaps this time, humanity was more than just a nuisance. Perhaps they were a force that even he couldn't defeat. Jack and his team, however, were far from finished. As they made their way to the heart of the alien base, they were ready for whatever came next. They had come too far, sacrificed too much, to turn back now. The final battle was on the horizon, and nothing would stop them from ensuring humanity's victory. Zoran's time had come, and so had humanity's. The battle for Earth was just beginning. Zoran's flagship, a colossal warship that had once been the symbol of the Galactic Federation's power, now loomed in space, its engines firing as it prepared to descend upon Earth. The alien fleet surrounding the flagship was a terrifying sight, a line of ships that spanned across the horizon of the galaxy, each one more advanced than the last. The alien Federation had underestimated humanity's strength, but Zoran had been so confident in his victory that he couldn't fathom the challenge Earth would present. However, Zoran's confidence quickly turned to frustration as he watched his fleet move towards Earth. Deep down, he knew something was wrong. He had given his forces the best technology in the galaxy, yet the humans had held their ground at every turn. The Galactic Federation had ruled the stars for centuries, but now they were facing an opponent unlike any other. Humans who were clever, unpredictable, and driven by something that no advanced technology could replicate: a burning will to survive. Back on Earth, Jack and his team had become the symbol of humanity's defiance. Their bravery and intelligence had shown that even against the greatest technological powers, humans could still fight back. Jack, who had once been a humble scientist, was now the leader of humanity's most important battle. The pressure on him and his team was immense, but they knew that they couldn't afford to lose. Every second, every decision they made could be the difference between survival and destruction. As the massive alien flagship drew closer, Jack's voice rang out in the communications room. "All units, prepare for battle. This is our moment. The future of humanity is in our hands." His words were more than just a command. They were a rallying cry. Every human, every soldier, every scientist who had worked tirelessly to develop Earth's countermeasures was now watching, hoping, praying that this battle would be their last. Humanity had developed advanced AI and robotics that could rival the Federation's best technologies. The warships they had built were equipped with cloaking devices and weaponry that could turn the tide of the battle in an instant. But more than that, humanity had something the aliens had failed to account for: unity. Earth had come together in the face of their common enemy, and every person on the planet knew what was at stake. The first strike came as Earth's fleet launched its initial wave of attack. Alien ships were caught off guard as cloaked human warships emerged from the shadows of space, their weapons primed and ready. The battle erupted into chaos, the silence of space shattered by the deafening sound of energy blasts and explosions. The alien ships fired their advanced weapons, trying to overwhelm the human fleet, but the humans had learned to fight in ways their enemies couldn't predict. The battle between the two forces was fierce. Zoran's fleet, massive and technologically superior, launched wave after wave of attacks. But the humans, with their cloaked warships, advanced AI systems, and robots, countered each strike with precision and determination. Every inch of space was fought for as if it were the last, and for the humans, it felt like it was. The human fleet used advanced strategies that kept Zoran's forces on edge, forcing them to react quickly and with uncertainty. Jack and his team were directly involved in the fight. They piloted advanced warships, their cloaking technology rendering them invisible to the enemy until it was too late. The aliens had the advantage of numbers and size, but the humans had the advantage of strategy, technology, and heart. As the battle raged, Jack's team worked tirelessly to disable the alien weapons and protect Earth's cities from the barrage of attacks. They used their knowledge of the alien technology to hack into the systems and cause chaos within the enemy ranks. The sky over Earth burned with the flashes of explosions as the human fleet unleashed a volley of missiles at Zoran's flagship. The flagship, a massive and terrifying ship capable of annihilating entire cities, took hit after hit, its shields weakening under the relentless assault. Zoran watched in horror as his forces, the greatest military power in the galaxy, were slowly being torn apart by the humans they had once fought beneath them. The battle wasn't just fought with weapons, it was fought with determination, with the hope of a better future. Jack's team was the heart of humanity's resistance. As Zoran's flagship took another heavy blow, Jack's thoughts drifted to his fallen friend Bonner. Bonner's death had always driven him forward, but now it was more than just a memory. It was a promise. They were fighting for Bonner, for Earth, and for every life that depended on their success. But Zoran's obsession with humanity's defeat wouldn't let him give up. His flagship was damaged, but it wasn't destroyed, and Zoran still had one final card to play. With a clenched fist, he ordered his fleet to regroup and launch the final phase of the invasion, a full-scale planetary assault that would burn Earth to the ground. It was in this moment that humanity's ultimate weapon came into play, their AI systems. The same technology that had been dismissed by the Galactic Federation as inferior was now humanity's greatest strength. The AI systems had been designed not just to fight. They were designed to think, adapt, and evolve. As Zoran's fleet prepared for the final assault, the AI systems that Jack and his team had worked so hard to perfect began to override the alien systems, causing havoc and confusion within the enemy ranks. As the alien ships scrambled to respond to the unexpected threat, Jack and his team saw their chance. With a coordinated effort, they launched a final assault on the flagship. Their warships, cloaked and nearly invisible, appeared from the shadows at the perfect moment, unleashing everything they had. The flagship, already severely damaged, could not withstand the combined force of the human fleet's attack. Explosions rocked the ship as its shields failed, and within minutes, the once mighty warship was reduced to space debris, drifting through the void. Zoran stood on the bridge of his flagship as it crumbled around him, the cold reality of defeat settling in. He had been so sure that humanity would fail, that they were nothing more than a fleeting speck in the vastness of space. But he was wrong. Humanity had risen, and they had shown the galaxy that they were not to be underestimated. As the smoke cleared and the last remnants of the alien fleet were scattered across the stars, Jack and his team stood victorious. They had fought for their planet, for their people, and they had won. The Earth had held its ground against the might of the Galactic Federation, proving that no matter how advanced the technology, no matter how superior the enemy, humanity's will to survive would always be its greatest strength. Zoran's defeat marked the beginning of a new era. The Alien Federation had learned a harsh lesson. Underestimating humanity had been their fatal mistake. And for Jack, the battle was far from over. They had won today, but there would always be more challenges ahead. But for now, Earth was safe, and humanity had earned its place among the stars. The battle for survival had been won, and humanity had emerged victorious, stronger than ever. The great battle between humanity and the Galactic Federation had ended, and the silence of space now echoed with the echoes of victory. Earth had proven to the universe that they were not a species to be underestimated. The Federation, who had once considered humanity as nothing more than a primitive race, now found themselves staring in awe at what humans had achieved. Zoran, the once confident commander of the Galactic Federation, stood in the ruins of his flagship. His entire fleet had been obliterated by the human forces, and now there was nothing left but the remnants of the mighty ships that had once struck fear into the hearts of countless civilizations. The cold, harsh reality of his failure set in, and he was left with one overwhelming thought. Humanity was no longer something to be dismissed. They had proven themselves far more capable than any of the Federation could have imagined. Zoran, along with the alien scientists who had once scoffed at human intelligence, now found themselves in a state of disbelief. How had the humans done it? How had they outsmarted and outlasted the most advanced military forces in the galaxy? The very technology that the Federation had thought would guarantee their victory had been turned against them. The AI systems that had once been considered the pinnacle of power had been bested by human ingenuity, creativity, and an unwavering will to fight. As the dust settled and Earth began to recover from the intense battle, the citizens of the planet couldn't help but feel a sense of pride. Jack and his team, who had led humanity's fight, were hailed as heroes. Their names were now known throughout the galaxy, not just on Earth. They had defeated a force that was once thought unbeatable, and in doing so, they had secured Earth's future among the stars. But for Jack, the victory was bittersweet. He thought back to Bonner, his close friend who had given his life in the fight. He thought about all the others who had fallen, and he knew that this victory wasn't just for them. It was for everyone. It was for Earth's future, for the future of every human being who had been told that they weren't strong enough to survive in a galaxy full of powerful alien civilizations. Humanity had faced down a terrifying enemy, and in the end, they had emerged victorious. But this victory didn't just belong to Jack and his team. It belonged to every single person on Earth who had fought to defend their planet. It was the result of the combined effort of scientists, soldiers, engineers, and ordinary citizens who had come together in the face of the greatest threat humanity had ever faced. It was a triumph of will, of human spirit, and of the unbreakable bond that united all of Earth. Zoran, who had once sought to destroy humanity, found himself in an unexpected position. As the leader of the Galactic Federation, he was accustomed to being in control, to commanding entire fleets, and to dismissing weaker species. But now, as he stood in the aftermath of his failure, he realized that humanity was not so easily crushed. The human race had shown him something he had never seen before: true determination. Zoran had spent his life believing that power was everything, but now he knew the truth. Humanity's greatest weapon wasn't technology or brute strength. It was their ability to adapt, to think, to learn, and to persevere in the face of overwhelming odds. For the first time in his life, Zoran respected humanity. He had always believed that the galaxy's future was in the hands of the most technologically advanced races, but now he saw that the true strength of a civilization didn't lie in its weapons or its ships. It lay in its people. And Earth, with all its imperfections, had shown that it was more than capable of holding its own against the most powerful forces in the galaxy. The good versus evil theme had played out perfectly. The Alien Federation, with its overwhelming power and its AI-driven supremacy, had been the perfect embodiment of evil, a force that sought to dominate, to control, and to eliminate anything that stood in its way. On the other hand, humanity had embodied the qualities of good: creativity, resilience, and a refusal to be oppressed. In the end, it wasn't the superior technology of the aliens that had won the war. It was the human spirit that had triumphed. Humanity's victory wasn't just a military one. It was a victory of ideals, a victory of heart, and a victory that would resonate across the galaxy for centuries to come. The Federation had learned a harsh lesson. Underestimating humanity had been their fatal mistake. The humans had fought not just for survival, but for the right to determine their own fate, and in doing so, they had proven that they were a force to be reckoned with. As the dust settled, the leaders of the Galactic Federation were forced to confront a new reality. The power structures they had once relied on were no longer sustainable. The humans had shown that they could not be controlled, that they would not bend to the will of any superior force. And so, for the first time in the history of the galaxy, the Federation found itself in a position where it had no choice but to reconsider its approach to humanity. They had no choice but to acknowledge that Earth was a force in its own right, one that deserved respect and recognition. Jack and his team were honored for their bravery, their intelligence, and their unshakable belief in humanity. They were declared heroes across the galaxy, and their names were etched into the annals of history. But even as they celebrated their victory, Jack couldn't help but think about what came next. The war had been won, but the battle for Earth's place in the galaxy was just beginning. The ending of this war wasn't the end of humanity's journey. It was just the beginning of a new era. The galaxy had seen humanity's strength, and now, the future was uncertain. The Federation might have been defeated, but there were still countless other civilizations out there, some of which might be more than willing to test Earth's resolve.